All right, everybody, welcome back to part 8. No, 7. I'm sorry, part 7, my bad. I'm getting ahead of myself. Part 7 of my 2026 LaserDisc collection overview. We're finally going to get into the cabinet here, and we got, like I said, it's full. I'm not getting any more LaserDiscs in here, so we got quite a bit to get through. So let's just go ahead and do it, and let's see what we got inside here if they all don't fall out. There we go. We'll just do it. Well, I clean it. That's okay. Alright, so here's a good one to start with. So first up, we have the Blues Brothers. This is I don't think this is the original release. No, because it did have a DiscoVision title. DiscoVision was Universal Studios. They were actually I believe they were the first studio to support LaserDisc. But in the beginning, the first couple years, which was the late 70s into I think 1981 ish, somewhere around there, it was called DiscoVision for whatever reason. I guess they wanted to have their own special name for LaserDisc or what have you. The Blues Brothers was one of those titles. The first title, the first LaserDisc, was actually Jaws. So if you can find that title, good luck. I think that one can be a little pricey. I do have Jaws, but we'll get to that in a little bit here. But this is a re-release from 1990. And again, for whatever reason, this is in full screen. I don't know if it is open matte or not, but even in 1990, they were still trying to get it on full screen for whatever reason. But this is the original theatrical cut of the Blues Brothers, which this was the last release for. The Blues Brothers did get a Universal Studios Signature Collection release, which I do not have, which that one is a little more on the pricey side. That has the extended cut, which typically is the version that I watch. I actually do like the extended cut of this movie more. But it does have the theatrical trailer at the end of the movie here, which is pretty cool. But I actually got this in a trade, so it did not cost me anything. I had an extra copy of Game of Death with Bruce Lee on LaserDisc, and I ended up trading to get that, so can't complain. There you go. Next up we have Casper, which this is the original letterbox release in the again, it's not Dolby Digital because Universal did not support Dolby Digital, but they did do a DTS release of Casper later, which I think that one is a little bit more expensive, if I remember correctly. But I did get this one actually locally at one of the local antique malls. So for $5, I can't complain. Also, I wanted to mention Sony, because I had previously said that Sony did not support AC3. Somewhat true. They ended up actually supporting AC3 towards the end of LaserDisc, so it was kind of too late. I think once DTS came out, all the companies were kind of picking and choosing if they wanted to support DTS or they wanted to support AC3. So Sony actually, there are some titles that Sony put out at the end of their run of their movies on LaserDisc that have Dolby Digital AC3, because the Van Damme movie Knockoff actually does have it. Because I was curious about that. I did look it up, and yeah, there are some Sony titles out there that do have Dolby Digital AC3, but they are the kind of the last bunch of titles that they put out. So I was half right about that. I was not entirely correct, but you know, it is what it is. Sorry, oops. Then I have the first 7, because these are the only ones that came out on LaserDisc. The first 7 Halloween movies, which these and Resurrection are the only ones I like. So there's that. And let me see if I can adjust these. Yeah, now they will not fall, so I can relax a little bit. So we have, first up, and I believe I got all these off of eBay, but I do have the Criterion collection of the original Halloween. Now, this is the special edition release. So, what Criterion would do for, I think, for quite a while, they would do a regular release and then they would do a special edition. Now, the special editions were always encoded in CAV, so it would be 30 minutes per side. The regular version would just have the movie in CLV, and then the kicker about the special edition releases is they would be the ones that would always have the extra features. So again, this is in the full CAV 30 minutes per side format, and there is extra features on here. There's also a couple extras on here that did not make it to other releases, which we will go over. And this one is still sought out. This one can get a little pricey. This one's in really nice shape. It's got actually no ring wear. Yeah, it has no ring wear, which is also typical of vinyl records, and it's still pretty glossy there. Always love the original one sheet there. Classic, and always I love the shot here with the orange filter on. Of course, that's not how it looked in the movie, but they did use this shot with the orange motif for a lot of the home video releases, which is very cool. And this is my favorite horror movie of all time. This is my gateway drug, so to speak. So you do get, and this is also interesting in some other ways, which we'll get into. But you do get the movie in here, and then you open up the gatefold. You have a beautiful setup. Again, love the orange filter that they put on the pictures in here to kind of make it, give you that little teeny tiny bit of extra Halloween feel. And you got your production notes and your cast and crew, the LaserDisc production credits, and then all the notes about what is actually on this LaserDisc, which is very nice. So, again, you do get the movie on CAV, so the movie actually takes up all four sides of the LaserDisc. Also, what's interesting is it does have the extra scenes from the TV version, but instead of having them be presented at the end of the LaserDisc, at the end of the movie, they are presented at the end of side 1 and side 2, where those scenes would fall in the movie. So if you want, you can play around and you can watch the TV version by going to the different chapters, and it will tell you what order to go in the chapters if you want to watch that version of the movie. So it is really interesting how they did that. Of course, all subsequent releases of this TV version or extended cut or whatever you want to call it present it as you would watch it on television, where the scenes are inserted in there. So it is a very interesting way to do that if you want to play around with your LaserDisc chapter selections. You can do that. There's some other films I believe that Criterion did that did the same thing as well. So there's that, which is pretty cool. And then on side 4, after the movie, you do get all your credits. There is one thing that is exclusive to this LaserDisc. There is a segment of Siskel and Ebert on Sneak Preview where they talk about slasher movies. That has never come out on any other home video release other than this Criterion LaserDisc for Halloween. So it's available, easily available here on YouTube, but this is the only official physical release of that segment. So if you want to get that, that is one of the things that is exclusive. And the rest of it is, it's mostly frame by frame, step by step notes and stuff, but you do get the trailer and a guide to slasher movies, which is very cool. So there you go. And then you do get on the digital track, you get the original sound mix, because Halloween is another one of those movies that is infamous for always remixing the soundtrack. Especially the Halloween theme. In the 90s, actually, I think shortly after this LaserDisc came out, they completely went in and remixed the Halloween theme and started adding different things in there that people don't like. To my knowledge, I believe the majority of the DVD releases and maybe even some of the Blu-rays do not have the original sound mix of Halloween. This LaserDisc does. All the VHS releases have it. There might be maybe some of the later Blu-rays, maybe like the 4Ks and stuff. They might have the original sound mix. I have to look into that. But this has it. Also on analog track 1, if you want to hear the isolated score and the sound effects, you can do that. And then it does have the commentary with John Carpenter, Deborah Hill, and Jamie Lee Curtis, which of course that has all been reissued on the various DVD and Blu-ray releases. So very cool disc, discs, because it's a 2-disc set. Sorry, but this one, especially in the Criterion world and in the horror world, this is one that is still sought after and people still want to track down, and it can get a little expensive. I think I maybe paid about $50, but it's in really, really nice shape, and I definitely want to watch the the Halloween movies and some of these other movies on LaserDisc soon, because I have not watched them nearly as much as I would like to. So there's that. Excuse me. Then we have Halloween 2, which this is in full screen. Again, MCA video disc. That's what they called it in the early part of the. After DiscoVision, they called them video discs, and then they went to LaserDisc for Universal. Shortly after this, and this is '83. So there you go. But there is a widescreen release of this that came out in Japan. Once again, I do not know if this is open matte. This was Halloween, actually pretty much all the Halloween movies, except I think The Curse of Michael Myers. This one was expensive to get a hold of because, again, I've looked it up. I'm sorry, but there was someone that commented, I think on the first part, and they were talking about how they had just gotten into LaserDisc and they've been having a lot of fun exploring the format and everything. They just hate that the horror titles are very expensive. And yeah, it's just like VHS. Everybody wants the horror stuff and it gets all pricey. Also, I forgot to mention, there is a Japanese release of the original Halloween, which does have the actual TV version on it with the edits and everything in there, which that was also released by accident here in America on VHS, which I do have that, which we'll cover when we get to the VHS tapes. So there you go. I do want to get I actually do want to get both of those because it's Halloween. So there you go. Then we have Halloween 3. It's the season of the witch. Come on, sorry, I had to. And then from here, which came out the same year, this just went to LaserDisc instead of video, or what is video disc. Well, it says it here, but on the back it just went to the MCA logo and stuff, so I guess they did that very quickly. The jacket has seen some better days, I will say that, but I did get this in a collection actually, which this was the only one in the collection that I wanted, but I think it was also The Woman in Red with Gene Wilder and Kelly LeBrock, which is actually not a bad movie. And then I think it might have been Michael Jackson, the making of Michael Jackson's Thriller, which that jacket was in terrible shape, so I actually got rid of that. But this one, yeah, it's definitely seen better days, but the movie plays fine, the disc has no issues, but it was a little pricey again to get. Then we have Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, which I always go back and forth with this one, honestly, as my favorite. So there you go. This did get some water damage, as you could see there and right there. But again, the disc has no issues. The disc plays fine. Got some, other than the water damage in the corner, got some minimal wear there. But I've always loved the poster, even though that's the house from the original Halloween that is nowhere to be seen in Halloween 4. But, who am I to nitpick, I suppose. And then, of course, you got, well, first of all, you got the classic CBS Fox LaserDisc setup here with the banner at the bottom. And then I always loved this setup on the back here, which, of course, they also did with their VHS releases. So very, very nice in there. And then, of course, they also released Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, which, of course, we all know he didn't really get his revenge. But here, they switched up the design a little bit. instead of having the kind of grayish low or banner at the bottom, it went all black to blend in with this, which I thought was very cool. And this I also really like. They did an orange rear cover, which again they also did with the VHS release, which I always really enjoyed that. And it's funny because at the back here it does say Halloween 5 also introduced the mysterious stranger who was slated to have a bigger role in the plot of Halloween 6. Of course, this LaserDisc came out in 1990. Halloween 6 was still 5 years away. So there you go. But yeah, the Halloween 4 and 5 were a little more on the pricey side as well. I think they were about in the $50 range, which is what I paid really for 1. 2 I think was in there, maybe a little, maybe slightly more. 3 was about in there, and 4 and 5. It's just, again, LaserDisc has become, well, I got these probably over 10 years ago, getting these. Yeah, because I had all these I think before I joined the Army. So I joined the Army 10 years ago, which is crazy. But, I've had these for quite a while, but even then, they were still pretty pricey to get. And one thing I just kind of noticed is the shot of Michael and Jamie. These are taken from, it looks like they were doing a photo shoot. But here, this shot here of Dr. Loomis and Michael, that looks like maybe somebody had a camera on, one of the crew members was just taking pictures on set, because it doesn't look as nice as these two here. So these are clearly 35 millimeter film. That's more of like an amateur shot there. So I've always noticed that. And if you look really close, you can actually see Don Shank. I don't know if it's going to come up on the camera, but you can see Don Shank's eyes closed in that shot there. So I don't know if they were doing rehearsals or what, but yeah, that shot looks like maybe it was a continuity shot so they could have the makeup the correct way or something. But yeah, I just noticed that. So there you go. And then this one I think was the cheapest one to get. I think I maybe paid about $30 to get this one. But we do have Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, which is in widescreen letterbox. Of course, this is the theatrical version. To my knowledge, there was never a bootleg LaserDisc of the producer's cut, because once again, back in the day, one of the disadvantages of LaserDisc was you could not get consumer commercial LaserDiscs to record to. So as far as I know, unless there was some odd foreign release, foreign bootleg out there, there was never a bootleg LaserDisc of the producer's cut. That leaked out on VHS and then later to DVD here in America before it got an official release. But always loved this. Very, very nice look here. Nice. And this one's still pretty glossy, which is nice. Got some dings on it, but love the orange banner at the top and just love that one sheet. I actually do have the original one sheet for this. I just need to get a frame on it. But this is the home video version where they added Marianne Hagen in there wearing like a nightgown, or maybe that's, or just, I think it's just her bra, because there's the one scene where she's walking around in her bra and panties, and I'm not complaining because she was not a bad looking woman. So despite what Harvey Weinstein thought, she was not ugly, I will say that. But there you go. Which they did add again. Actually, I think the theatrical poster had her on there too, so at least she could say she was on the poster as well. But very nice shot. And then the standard rear here, which of course they used, I think, all but this shot on the VHS releases and stuff as well. But again, it is the theatrical version, so it is what it is. But it's still cool to have on LaserDisc. And then we also have, last but not least, hey, that poster should look familiar. I wonder where they got the idea from. We have Halloween H2O 20 years later. For all you youngins out there, it's H2O. It's not H20. I don't know where you all got that from. But you're wrong. I know, your generation has never been told that you're wrong, but you're wrong. So there you go. This is actually a former rental, which is cool. But this one, I think this may have been the most expensive one for me to get. I think I paid about $75 to get this. And this is before LaserDisc was cool again. and everything. That's what I'll do. I'll get a red hat and I'll just put "Make LaserDisc cheap again" and wear it around and see what kind of reactions I get. So there you go. Make horror. Hold on. Correction. Make horror LaserDiscs cheap again. There we go. That'll be my slogan. But of course, the Scream template, which again, it's also the same studio, and this movie is unfortunately very similar to Scream. It's not really a Halloween movie, but I do like it for what it is. I actually have a fan cut of this, which is more in line with the other Halloween movies. So there you go. And then here's the rear jacket, which I love this shot here of Jamie Lee Curtis, and they just have a light shooting on her to make the shadow and everything. I always really enjoyed that shot before the final showdown. The rest of it, actually, these two ended up on the VHS. I think all three of these ended up to the VHS, and that is the original KNB mask where Michael Myers looked like a fucking alien, which I never agreed with that either. So there you go. And because this is a Disney title, this does have the Dolby Digital AC3 track, and then they re-released it later as a DTS title, which is a lot more expensive than what I paid for this originally, and also because this is a late title and it's a major horror movie franchise, that's another reason why this one's pricey. So there you go. If you want to get the DTS, good luck. I hope you can track it down. Decently priced, and I would love to hear that sound mix, but that is not going to happen today. So there you go. All right, and then, as previously mentioned, I do have the Phantasm sequels on LaserDisc as well, except Phantasm Ravager, which I do not like that movie. That movie was terrible. That movie was not worth the hype, and it was not worth the wait. In this fucking dojo, there is only 4 Phantasm movies, so there's that. But of course we have, which was always my favorite Phantasm, which is the Evil Dead 2 of the franchise, where it was more of an action movie than, well, of course horror, but it was more of the action saga in the film. So we have Phantasm 2, which of course these were all pricey to get on LaserDisc, but I don't think I paid more than maybe $50 to get them. So there you go, which again is kind of my limit. I am a man of principle, so I will say that. But of course, got the late 80s MCA home video motif here. But I do love the purple banner at the top, which is very cool. And yes, this is in full screen. Again, I do not know if it is open matte or not, but, it is what it is, I suppose. It's still cool to have. And then we have Phantasm 3, the Lord of the Dead, with this beautiful mid-90s Photoshop artwork. But I dig Phantasm 3. I always enjoyed this one quite a bit as well. Same setup. I do like that they retained the purple banner that they had on Phantasm 2. And same thing as well in the fact that this is in the full screen format. Again, I do not know if it is open matte or not. So there you go. Because a lot of people think that all full screen presentations are open matte. That is actually not true. So there you go. But very cool here. And very interesting entry in the saga for many reasons. I think the biggest reason is the fact that Phantasm 3 was supposed to go to the theaters. There was a gentleman that had worked at Universal Studios at the time. I believe he was the head of the home video department, and he was a big Phantasm guy. And he actually died. He was killed in a plane crash, and after he died, he was replaced, and the gentleman that took over decided we're not going to release it in the theater, and they pretty much dumped it straight to video. I know Phantasm 3 did get a limited theatrical engagement in a couple of major cities, and apparently it did very well in those areas. But the higher-ups didn't see it that way, and also, apparently, Don Coscarelli was very pissed off about that, and I think this was the last time he worked with a major studio, because he just got tired of the interference and everything. And also the experience on Phantasm 2 as well didn't really help. So there's that. And then, last but not least, we have Phantasm 4, Oblivion, which this is in the letterbox format, widescreen format. Always liked this style. The VHS I think was a little bit different, but I like the the edges here where it's like that that virtual reality 3D type of look. I don't know what exactly they were going for with this, but I always kind of dug that and thought this was pretty cool. And this again is in the widescreen format, and it does not have Dolby Digital AC3. It just has the stereo mix, which is very cool. But always like Phantasm 4. I like the idea that they recycled a lot of the deleted scenes and everything because they didn't really have much to work with, but it's still a cool idea. And to me, this is the last Phantasm movie because, again, I do not care about Phantasm 5. So there's that. And then next up, I have... That should be okay like that. I have 1, 2, 3... I have 5 of the Friday the 13th movies here. The only one I don't have, which is the most expensive one, is for whatever... it's just so funny to me that Jason Takes Manhattan is the worst of the franchise and blah, 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 and this and that, but yet it's the most expensive one. I got it on VHS not that long ago. That was $50. And the LaserDisc prices are crazy. Now, I understand it's Friday the 13th. It's a major franchise. But if this is the one that everybody hates, if this is the one that's the worst one, why are you charging out the fucking ass for it? I just don't understand it. That's just me. I don't know. Anyway, so we have the original, which to be honest, I was never big on the original, but I love the poster. I love this artwork. I really like this. I respect what this movie did, but again, I was never the biggest on this film. I never was, and I never will be. I don't believe Betsy Palmer at 120 pounds soaking wet can kill all these people and everything, so there you go. But like I said, I do respect this movie for what it is. It's not like I don't like the movie, but this was never one of my favorites. But, great looking LaserDisc. And these, I think, 1 and 2, I think I got pretty cheap. The rest of them, I think, got a little pricey. So then I have Friday the 13th Part 2, which I love that they reused the artwork pretty much from the first one, at least the silhouette, and they put a hatchet in there instead of a knife. But Friday the 13th, out of the first 4, this is the only one that I really enjoy. I was never big on Friday the 13th Part 3. I was never really that big on the final chapter. Because when I was growing up, when I was a kid, and I was getting into these movies and everything, the only one that everybody talked about was Friday the 13th, the final chapter. And it got so annoying. And then everybody stopped talking about it, and then it's like, oh, well, Jason Lives. I'm like, well, Jason Lives was always my favorite, so I guess once again I was ahead of the curve. I hate when that happens. But out of the first 4, Friday the 13th Part 2 was always my favorite, and it's always the one out of the first 4 that I go back to because of Amy fucking Steele. So there you go. But again, love the old school Paramount setup here. It's funny because this is the shot that had to be removed to get the R rating, but yet they put it on the back of the VHS and the LaserDisc, and it's okay, but you can't have it in the film. Alright, that doesn't make any sense. But there you go. And yes, I love Potato Sack Jason. So there's that. And then we have Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, with the Lord Humongous mask from The Road Warrior, which is not in the movie, but again, the old school Paramount rear cover, which of course they did on all their VHS releases as well. But this one, because this is where the franchise started to do different things because people were getting tired of it. But I always really enjoyed this one because it's sleazy, it's down and dirty, everybody was coked up while they were making the film. It's got probably the best nudity in a horror film. I don't think anybody would disagree. And got some great kills. And I always liked the concept of the copycat. I always thought that was an interesting idea. And I know people get mad at me because I don't like Jason Goes to Hell. I'm like, well, at least the guy was dressed up as Jason. It wasn't a demon or whatever, So there you go. So I think I paid maybe around $50 to get that one. and this one. But of course, this one was always my favorite, and I'm trying to get it to behave. There we go. But we have Friday the 13th, Part 6. Jason Lives. Always loved that poster, that artwork. I always thought was killer. I would love to get the original one sheet for this at one point. And again, classic rear Paramount artwork there, which I love. I love the shot of Jason on top of the camper. And again, this was always my favorite. And C.J. Graham is a dick because I met him, although he was my favorite Jason. It is what it is. And this movie is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. Hopefully, they will re-release this in the theaters. Because last year, I don't know why they did it last year and not this year, because Friday the 13th Part 2 is celebrating its 45th anniversary this year. They re-released Friday the 13th Part 2 last year in the theaters. They did Halloween 2, Friday the 13th Part 2, and A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, but it was like a 1 week thing, like it was a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday thing that they did, and I was away that weekend, so I couldn't see Halloween 2. And then the only theater that it was at was, the last time I was at that theater is when I almost got into a fight because people don't know how to shut the fuck up at the movies. So I don't think I'm going to be going there again. Oh well. Then we have Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, which this is actually autographed by Kane Hodder. I did not buy this really to get the autograph. Sorry, Kane. I bought it to get the movie. And I think this one was about $75 because, it's autographed and stuff. But I've been wanting to get it for quite some time. And I said, hey, you get the little added bonus of an autograph there. And there's that. And I know people are like, well, why do you have it in the cabinet? Because number one, it's on the rear, and then number two, why not? So there's that. It's got a sleeve on it. It's protected. Nothing's going to happen to it. So there you go. So like I said, I would like to get Jason Takes Manhattan because I do like that movie for what it is. Again, I have a lot of issues with that movie too, but I do like it enough to want to have it on LaserDisc. I'm not paying $100 to get it on LaserDisc though, because again, I'm a man of principle. So there's that. All right, and then the last of this row here, and of course we got plenty of time, so we'll get into some other stuff. I do have the majority. The only one I don't have is Freddy's Dead because I don't like that movie. But I have all the other Nightmare on Elm Street LaserDiscs. So this one is another one that can still be pricey and it's still sought out by people. And again, another one of my favorite pieces. This is like the Halloween Criterion that we went over in the Phantasm box set, especially out of the horror stuff. But I do have the Elite Entertainment Special Edition release of A Nightmare on Elm Street with the Freddy sweater artwork, which is very cool. And yes, this one is still sought out by people. This one can get pretty pricey. I think I got it decently priced. I may have paid about $50 to get it, but I got it pretty decently priced. And it's still, for the most part, it's in really nice shape. It's still very glossy. Yeah, it's got some corner dings and such on there. But for the most part, it looks pretty nice. And the discs play fine. There's no issues with it, which is very cool. And you get, again, another classic. The inside's a little dicked up because I think it was stuck together. And when I had these in storage and stuff, of course, it gets hot. So that might have been one of the other reasons. But for the most part, it's fine. It does have a little bit of wear and tear on it, but again, the discs themselves are fine. So, you get a write-up from Freddy Krueger himself, Robert Englund, all behind-the-scenes photos, nothing from the movie itself, which is very cool. And you get all your chapter stops and everything, which is very nice. So you do get the original mono is on here, which I don't know. Again, with a lot of these older movies, a lot of times the Blu-rays and the 4Ks won't have the original sound mixes. Sometimes the DVDs do. It just depends. So I don't know off the top of my head if the original mono made it to any of the newer releases. You do get the remix on here and the audio commentary with, I know it's, hold on, Wes Craven, Heather Langenkamp, John Saxon, and Jacques Haddocken, who was the cinematographer for not only this movie but the first sequel, Freddy's Dead. So that's on the DVDs and the Blu-rays. New digital widescreen transfer, new stereo surround mix, the original mono. You get the trailers for all 7 of the movies on here, which is very cool. And then you do get 30 minutes of deleted scenes, never before seen footage, and extensive still archive, which is very cool. So let me look at that again. So the movie is disc 1, which is in CLV. At the end of the movie, you do get the trailers and TV spots for the first film, and then you get the trailers for all of the sequels up until New Nightmare, because I think this came out right when New Nightmare did, if I'm not mistaken. Where's the copyright? 1996, so New Nightmare had been out a couple years yet already, so there you go. And then disc 2 is all in the CAV format, which has deleted scenes and 2 alternate endings, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe some of the deleted scenes on here did not make it to... I know they didn't make it to the Blu-ray. They might have been on the DVD box set on that bonus disc, the Labyrinth disc. But I know for a fact that some of the deleted scenes on here did not make it to the Blu-ray or the 4K. So there you go. I think the alternate endings did, but for whatever reason, the deleted scenes did not. And then side 4 is all your still frame stuff. So it's your photographs and the script and all that stuff on there. And then there's outtakes at the end. It's from the work print. It's just stuff that didn't make it. So there you go. Just like odds and ends shots and stuff. And I think some of that, actually, I think all that never made it to the Blu-rays and such. So this LaserDisc still has material on here which didn't make it elsewhere. So that's another reason why people want to get a hold of this one. And it is kind of hurting my eyes because the reason why Wes Craven chose the red and the green is because these are the 2 colors for the eyes to process the hardest. So it's actually hurting my eyes now, so we're going to stop talking about it. Also, there is a VHS counterpart to that. They did a 2-tape VHS set, which it was not Anchor Bay at the time, but it became Anchor Bay. Everything, the deleted scenes and the behind the scenes, all of that was on tape 2. I think the first tape may have had all the trailers on it as well. I actually have that. I found that locally at an antique mall many, many years ago. I think maybe I paid like $10 to get it. And I remember hearing about it, growing up and stuff. And when I was first starting to get into these movies, I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And I just happened to find it. I still have it. Again, we'll cover that when we get to the VHS. And like I said, I think pretty much everything on that made it to that VHS. So there is actually a VHS counterpart to that LaserDisc, which is very cool. And then Elite Entertainment released 2 and 3. They were supposed to release 4 and 5, but the license actually expired before they could get 4 and 5 out. So yeah, they were planning to re-release 4 and 5 on LaserDisc, but again, it was too late. They unfortunately did not get those out. So we do have Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. Always loved that artwork there, classic artwork. But I've always really liked this movie. I've always had a good time with this one. I don't understand the obsession with it being gay and everything, because whether I was a kid when I first saw this, even to now, it's whatever you make it to be, because that's how people's heads work. But I've never, other than the teacher being gay in the S&M bar, you know what I mean? Other than that, really, like, y'all are reaching pretty far for some stuff. I will say that. So there you go. And this is in widescreen. The original releases are on full screen for these. And it does have the trailer at the end of the movie, but that's it. They didn't put any other extras on here, but that's okay. And then, of course, they also released, like I said, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, again, classic artwork there, and same thing in the letterbox widescreen format, whatever you'd like to call it, and it does, again, have the theatrical trailer at the end of the movie. Unfortunately, I guess they couldn't get the clearance for it, but it should have had the music video on there, but it doesn't. And I want to say, because I have the original Elm Street 3 VHS from Media, and there's a sticker on there that says it has the music video. I don't think my copy has the music video, though, so maybe mine was a later pressing or something where they took it off. But I have to look into that, to be honest. So there you go. And then I do have the good old Image release of Nightmare on Elm Street 4, the Dream. That's next. That's next fob, Dream Master. And again, I think I paid a little bit more to get this one, because I think this was the only one no, not yet. That's next. But yeah, this is. All these now go for crazy prices, but I think when I got it, it was still somewhat decently priced. But always love that rear artwork, which of course they used this for the VHS. This does not have the one thing that the VHS had that this didn't have. Before the movie, there was a promo for Freddy's Nightmares, which I don't think I've ever seen that promo anywhere else. It might be here on YouTube, I don't know. But they did not put that on the LaserDisc for whatever reason. It's just the movie. But that's okay. And then I have, of course, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, once again from good old Image Entertainment. And this is the unrated version of the film, which for the longest time was only available on LaserDisc and VHS. Now the 4K has it, which is really the only reason. And wearing a Friday the 13th sweatshirt, so there you go. Sorry, Jason, I forgot to mention that, but your eyes work. Now the 4K had it. They were going to do it for the DVD, but the master was screwed up or something, but now it's on 4K, so there you go. Which, again, would be the only reason why I would want to buy that 4K, because there's not much in the way of extras. And I love the Nightmare on Elm Street films, but I don't need them in 4K, so there's that. And it does say that it has the Houdini music video. Anyway, I gotta swing it. I do believe that is on here. I have not watched these in quite a while. Actually, I think I got this one decently priced, maybe about $50. And then the guy sent me, that I bought it from, he sent me Die Hard with a Vengeance for free. So we'll get to Die Hard's in there. We'll get to those. But I just thought that was cool. It's like, cool, I got two movies that I wanted on LaserDisc for the price of one, so I can't complain. And then we have Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which is a very underrated film. Always really, really enjoyed this one. Always thought this was very solid. Loved the theatrical one sheet here, which is very cool. And it's funny because this movie did not do that well, because it came out the same day as maybe you guys have heard of this movie. It's called Pulp Fiction. And it was definitely ahead of its time. And then 2 years later, Wes Craven did Scream, which was kind of a similar setup, and that changed the game. So there you go. And we'll get to Scream maybe in this segment here. We'll see. But this does have a commentary with Wes Craven, which ended up on the DVD and Blu-rays and such. It has the trailer, and then it also has 6. It has 6 TV spots, which never made it anywhere else. So they're probably here on YouTube at this point. Maybe somebody pulled them off of this, but yeah, the TV spots never made it to the DVD or Blu-ray. I don't even think they're on the new 4K release. So they're still stuck on this LaserDisc. But again, I'm sure at this point somebody has put these on YouTube. But if you want to go the physical route, there you go. And then this is the most expensive one to get. This was the most expensive one to get for me. This was the hardest one to get for me. They actually released the making of Nightmare on Elm Street 4 on LaserDisc. This aired on, I think, the USA Network back in the day when Nightmare on Elm Street 4 was about to get released in the theaters. And I believe it also got a V. No, no, no. No, it did. I'm sorry. It did get a VHS release because I do have it. I'm sorry. I do. My bad. That was way cheaper than getting this. But this is not one that pops up often. And when it does, it can get pretty pricey. I don't remember how much I paid for it. But I couldn't have been more than $100, if that. Because, again, this one is very, very hard to come by. And when you do see it on eBay or such, it's not going to be cheap. I don't know if they just didn't make a lot of these, or it's just an oddity because it's a making of, you know what I mean? But also, I don't think this made it to any of the DVDs or the Blu-rays either. So there you go. Yeah, because you know what? Because that Elm Street bootleg that I have with all the extra features, I think it's on there. So there you go. But it's only 45 minutes, so I think it's only side one of the LaserDisc. There's nothing else. Yeah, I mean, they could have put some trailers or something on here to pad out the time, but, so this one is very cool. Like I said, it is very, very hard to get a hold of, and when you do get a hold of it, you're not going to pay. It's not going to be cheap. And I love this behind-the-scenes shot here of Robert Englund, Rennie Harlan, and Ken Sagoes, and Robert Englund and Ken Sagoes are dressed up in jackets, so that's pretty cool to see there, too. Yeah, that is on YouTube and stuff. You can find that pretty easily on the internet, but if you wanted to get it physically, you're better off getting it on VHS because you're not going to pay an arm and a leg like you are to get it on the LaserDisc. So, just a little word of advice for you guys. But if you can get it decently priced, go for it. Like I always say, don't bankrupt yourself trying to buy movies or whatever because it's not worth it. Then we have the classic Fred Decker double feature, which these are actually, now that these are on DVD and Blu-ray, they're still expensive, but they're not expensive as they once were. When they were stuck on LaserDisc and VHS, they were very pricey. Now they have come down a little bit, but we have Night of the Creeps, classic, always love that classic theatrical one-sheet artwork, and pretty standard HBO rear cover, which they use for the VHS as well. And then, of course, we had the Monster Squad with the Monster Squad. Yeah, actually, I had this when I was in the Army. I actually had this in my room for a while because I sent it, instead of sending it, well, not here, but instead of sending it to the old house, I sent it to myself in my barracks room, so I just kind of had it as a decoration. So there you go. And these are both full screen. Again, I don't know if it's open matte or not because those were the only releases that came out. And like I said before, they were readily available on DVD and Blu-ray and such. When they were stuck on those two formats, they were pretty pricey. So they're still expensive, but they're not in the $200-300 range like they were for a while. And this one is a very cheap title, but we have Anaconda, which this is actually the only format that I have this movie on. I do like this film. I remember watching it back in the day. HBO would run this quite a bit, and it did, of course it did well and everything, but, I've only ever had this movie on LaserDisc, which is crazy. I found it at a local place for $5, so I can't complain. I want to see... Okay, so this does not have... Well, it says Dolby Surround. Let me look it up quick. See if... Yeah, I am not a bot. I am a human being. Leave me alone. No, it does not. Okay, this does not have Dolby Digital AC3. So, because again, it is a later Sony title, so they had not switched over. I would be curious to know which of the Sony titles have AC3 or not. Because like I said, knockoff with Van Damme does, but I don't know any of the other ones, so we'll see. Then we have Predator 2, classic, probably the most underrated sequel, to be honest, in my opinion. I got this one sealed, so I did bust the seal on this one, but love that kind of teaser, artwork that they did. I don't know why they didn't go with the shot of the Predator on top of the building and everything, but they went. I think this was the teaser poster. So there you go. But the classic Fox widescreen logo, always really like that one. And there you go. Sadly, it's just a movie. It is what it is. But this is when Predator 2 was still looked down upon by most people. So there you go. And guess what? Those people are wrong. And then I have, this is, I want to say this has Dolby Digital AC3. Maybe not. Oh, no, it does. It's right. Fob, it's right in front of you. But this is the Dolby Digital AC3 release of Aliens, which does, I don't know if it's going to come up on the, well, I gotta take it out anyway because it's a gatefold. Don't know if that's going to, oh, there it is. You can kind of see it. Kind of see the Queen on there. But this is the, I think this is the theatrical, yeah, this is the theatrical cut of Aliens. This is the re-release because it was originally put out by CBS Fox in the 80s, and that was in full screen, but this is the widescreen version because that's how James Cameron shot the movie before he lost his fucking mind and put everything in full screen. So there you go. But yeah, this does have the Dolby Digital AC3 track. Aliens was supposed to get a DTS release, but they canceled it. So there you go. And it does have the theatrical trailer. Or no, it says original theatrical version. Okay. Well, no, it might have the trailer. Let's see if it's on here. No, I thought it did. My bad. But there is the beautiful artwork in there inside the gatefold. You get some notes. You get one of the aliens, and I love the shot with the red. And then you get the chapter stops at the bottom. So, yeah, this is the original theatrical version of the movie, which I do like. I prefer the director's cut. I just think that it works better, which we will get to that later, because I do have that one as well. But yeah, and then this also has, again, the Dolby Digital AC3 track, because it's a Fox title, and Fox supported both. They actually, again, they supported AC3, and then they supported DTS a little bit later on. So there's that. Then I have Behave, you fucking savages. Yeah, I grabbed the next one. Doesn't matter. I have the Lethal Weapon franchise on LaserDisc. The first three movies are the original theatrical cuts. In Japan, they did a box set that had the director's cuts, but that, for a while, you could get it. Now you can't get it. I guess everybody wants it, but it's really difficult for me to find. I cannot find that box set. But I do want to get that specifically for the first movie because I do think the director's cut of the first movie is better. The reason why I'm doing the air quotes is, for those of you that do not know, they're not actually director's cuts. The theatrical versions are Richard Donner's preferred versions, and those versions were done without his approval, and apparently he got very upset about that, to the point where when they came out on Blu-ray, he said he would not participate if they did not put the original theatrical versions on there, which they did. So that's why those are stuck on DVD. Well, for 2 and 3, the 4K of Lethal Weapon actually has both versions, but I don't have that right now. So there you go. But anyway, we have, of course, the original, which has always been my favorite. I love they kept with the kind of the silver gray motif that the original poster had. And this is the widescreen release, because when this originally came out, it was in full screen, but then they re-released it in widescreen. And then, of course, we have Lethal Weapon 2, which I believe this only ever had a widescreen release, if I'm not mistaken. Which, I do like Lethal Weapon 2, but the tone shift halfway through the movie is weird, because it's, this kind of action comedy, and then halfway through they shifted it to kind of be like the first movies, and then everybody's getting killed, and then Riggs is suicidal again, and I don't know why they. Well, I know why they did that. It's because they kept making changes and they couldn't agree on stuff. But it does have again this strange shift tone halfway through the film. And then we have Lethal Weapon 3, which was always my favorite sequel. And I believe this is still the highest grossing of the Lethal Weapon movies, to be perfectly honest. And always love the poster that Joe Pesci is in the back there. Also, when this came out in the theaters, I don't know if you can find them, but the standee, Joe Pesci, actually moved up and down, but I've never been able to find one of those, so I'd like to get that. And again, this one always had a widescreen release as well. So there you go. And then we do have, if it wants to go in there, I do have Lethal Weapon 4, which is a late title. When I got this, it was pretty cheap because nobody really wanted these, I guess. And you could still find these very cheap. This one, you may have to pay a little bit more because, again, it's a late title. But I think for the most part, it is pretty reasonably priced to get still today. And this does have, again, because it's a Warner Brothers title later on, this does have the Dolby Digital AC3 track. And then it's on side 3, it does have the Pure Lethal making of documentary, which of course made it to the DVD and the Blu-rays. So it has all that stuff. And then it says 4 deleted scenes from Lethal Weapon 4, but that is not actually true. It's just B-roll footage from Lethal Weapon 4. There, as far as I know, none of the deleted scenes for this movie have ever been made public. So there you go. And again, this was a difficult movie to make because they didn't really have a script. They just kind of made it up for a lot of it, surprisingly, but it did very well. And it still is my least favorite. I don't know. Maybe Lethal Weapon 2 is my least favorite, but for the longest time, this was my least favorite, but it has grown on me quite a bit. And you got Jet Li in there in his first American film as the bad guy, so at least you got that going for you. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe Lethal Weapon 2 is my least favorite, which I know people get mad when I say that, but oh well. Next up, these are actually the only other 2 Jim Carrey movies that I have. We went over The Mask, which I still haven't watched yet, but these are the other 2 that I have in the collection. I need to get Ace Ventura because, well, the first Ace Ventura, the LaserDisc is the only way to get the extended cut in widescreen. Yes, it's still stuck on fucking LaserDisc. I know, it's weird. But we do have Once Bitten, which is his first starring role, and actually one of my favorite Jim Carrey movies. So there you go. But you got to have that. This is in full screen, but I don't know, again, if it is open matte or not. And then we have The Cable Guy, which actually got this locally at one of the local antique malls for $5, so you can't go wrong. I believe this one is a notorious laser rot title, if I'm not mistaken. When I watched it, there might have been a little bit here and there, but I think for the most part it was okay. So again, just because a title is laser rot prone, your copy may not have it. So, just keep that in mind, which is very cool. We'll go about 10 more minutes. We'll get through maybe the rest of this row and then maybe the next row, and then we'll start working into the back. All right, and then I have the Wayne's World movies. So to go with So I Married an Axe Murderer and Austin Powers, I guess I'll have to do a Mike Myers LaserDisc marathon one day. But we do have the original Wayne's World, which I believe there was also a full screen release for this. It says 92, which is when the movie came out, but I think there was a full screen release of this movie as well, if I'm not mistaken. It does say here some music has been changed for this LaserDisc. Other than Stairway to Heaven, I don't think anything was changed because theatrically, when this movie came out, they left in the part where Wayne plays the riff to Stairway to Heaven in the guitar store. All of the home video releases up until the 4K, they changed it because Led Zeppelin had a problem with it for whatever reason. I think they had a problem with it in the theaters, but they let it go, and then for the video, they said no. Because Led Zeppelin, even to this day, is notorious for not letting people use their music in movies and TV shows and everything. So again, to this day, they're still pretty bad about that. Well, or good, depending on how you look at it. But the 4K, I guess they approved of it, or they said fuck it or whatever, because you do get that 3 seconds of audio where Wayne plays the first couple notes of the riff. So for 30 plus years, we couldn't have 3 seconds of audio, because when that 4K came out, a lot of people were like, "Are you gonna get it?" I'm like, "Not really." Number one, yeah, I love Wayne's World. Do I need it in the 4K resolution? No. And number two, to get the 3 seconds of audio, I'm good, and it's here on YouTube if I really want to hear it. It's no big deal. And then, of course, I have Wayne's World 2, which I like pretty much as the first one. I used to say when I was younger that I like this one more. As I've gotten older, I think I like them about equal. So there you go. And this is widescreen. I think there also may have been a full screen release of this. Again, I'm not entirely 100% sure about that, but I want to say I'm pretty close. But always really enjoyed these films. I used to watch them constantly growing up because they were always on TV and renting them from the video store and stuff. But still love the Wayne's World movies. It would have been cool if they did a third film, but also at the same time, maybe 2 is enough. You know what I mean? Then we have 976 Evil, which is Robert Englund's directorial debut, and it has Evil Ed himself from Fright Night, Stephen Jeffries. And for the longest time, this and the VHS had this extended cut, which is now available on Blu-ray. It skipped over DVD, but it went to the Blu-ray. When I got this LaserDisc, the movie was still stuck on DVD, so this was really the only way. This and the VHS. I might still have this on VHS, I'm not sure. As I had it at one point, and I think when I got the DVD, I got rid of it, but I kept the LaserDisc because, again, this was one of the only ways that you could get this extended cut for the longest time. I actually really like this movie. I think it's pretty interesting. It's got some cool stuff in it. And Stephen Jeffries chose this over Fright Night 2 because he did not like the script for Fright Night 2. That's what he told me when I met him. But I always enjoyed this. I thought this was cool. I've never seen the sequel in its entirety. I've seen parts of the sequel, and I don't really remember much of it. So I think they kill off the cousin, Patrick O'Brien. I think they bring him back, and then they kill him off pretty much immediately from what I remember. But, I'll check out the sequel at some point. And yeah, I want to make sure, I'd like to get that back on VHS. Also, before we move on, classic, old school RCA Columbia setup here. And this is also in full screen, which the DVD, oddly enough, was in full screen as well. So there you go. But again, I don't know if it's open matte or not. Then we have Gargoyles, the movie. It's not the movie. It's the first 5 episodes edited together to make a movie because it was the 5-part pilot. But yeah, always love that artwork. Absolutely love Gargoyles. One of my favorite cartoons. Whether it was when it was originally on, when I was a kid and I used to watch it, or now as an adult, I definitely love and appreciate it more. It's basically Shakespeare for kids with people from Star Trek. So there you go. And I still cannot believe that when I went to Monster Mania a couple years ago and I met Keith David, and the picture that I got was him as Goliath, this lady in line behind me asked me, like, what is that? I said, it's Gargoyles. She goes, oh, I've never heard of it. I said, you've never heard? She was older than I am. I said, you've never heard of Gargoyles? Like, come on now. So there you go. But this was the only LaserDisc that they did release of the show. And when they put it out on VHS, it came with a board game and everything. That is not included on here. It's just the movie segmentum. So there you go. But still very cool. Again, always was a sucker for Gargoyles. So there's that. And then we have actually a couple John Carpenter titles. I don't have, again, other than Halloween, Big Trouble in Little China, and these, which is the other 3 Kurt Russell movies, I don't have much John Carpenter LaserDiscs. I need to change that. So first up, we have the widescreen collector's edition of Escape from New York, which this was put out by New Line. New Line had the home video rights to Escape from New York for a little bit because they bought the Avco Embassy line for a little bit. So there you go. But this is the first, again, widescreen release of the film, and there is some extra features on here, which we will get into momentarily. But that is the classic theatrical art, which I absolutely loved. There is the rear, which is very cool, and it actually is a gatefold, which is very nice. So you do get some great pictures in here. There is a picture from Big Trouble in Little China. I don't know how they got away with using that, but they did. And then you do get some production notes. You get a John Carpenter filmography, a LaserDisc production credits, cast and crew, and your chapter stops, which is very cool. So there is, again, a little bit of extra features. You do get a commentary, correct? Yeah, you do get a commentary with John Carpenter and Kurt Russell, which of course made it to all of the various DVD and Blu-ray releases, which their commentaries are gold if you have never heard them. I think the Big Trouble in Little China commentary was probably my favorite because they forget that they're supposed to be watching the movie. They start talking about their kids and life, and they were talking about their kids were playing guitar and like what songs they were learning on the guitar, and then they're like, oh yeah, Big Trouble in Little China. Yeah, but their commentaries are classic. And then there is an interview with John Carpenter on here, and that was the first time that you saw footage of the original opening. Now, the original opening is not in this by itself, but you do get to see footage from it while John Carpenter is talking about the movie. And then you get the theatrical trailer. Now, there is, and I do have it, there is a VHS counterpart to this release, which was also released in widescreen. So I've really only watched this movie in widescreen unless it was on TV or something, which is awesome. On the LaserDisc, the interview and the trailer are presented at the end of the movie. On the VHS, they're presented before the movie, for whatever reason. And the John Carpenter interview is exclusive to this LaserDisc and the VHS counterpart, and they have never been re-released as far as I know. So that's another reason why this one's a little more significant. So there you have it. And then, of course, we have the Universal Studios signature collection of The Thing, which this one was a little pricey to get. It's a little bit harder to get because everybody wants it now. I remember when you could get it for nothing, and I should have got it then, but it's okay. I don't think I paid maybe, again, more than $50 to get this. Maybe a little bit more than that, I'm not sure. But this is one of the later releases from the Signature Collection because there is the late 90s Universal Studios logo. This one came out in, if it says, it does not say. I want to say it was 1998, though. I could be wrong. So there's, again, the classic Drew Struzan, may he rest in peace, artwork on there. Unfortunately, he passed away not long ago. There's the rear with all the with the write-up and the technical information and all that. And then you get the, again, absolutely beautiful gatefold on here. There is John Carpenter's signature. You do get some production notes, some behind-the-scenes photos, some photos from the movie, and all of your chapter stops in there as well. So you do get, once again, the commentary track with John Carpenter and Kurt Russell, which this is the uncut version, and it was recorded for this LaserDisc. The later DVDs and Blu-ray, or maybe not, the DVDs, it's fine. The Blu-rays are edited because there's references to LaserDisc, and then there's other questionable things that they say that people didn't like, so they took it out. So I have the commentary, of course, on this LaserDisc, which is what it was recorded for, and then I also have still the original collector's edition DVD, which became the equivalent of the Signature Collection after they got rid of LaserDisc, and that has the uncut commentary as well. So there you go. And then it does have the 80-minute documentary, The Thing Terror Takes Shape, which that takes up all of side 3 into most of side 4. And then side 4 has outtakes and production art and stuff like that. I think side 4 is CAV. Yeah, side 4 is CAV. So you get the last probably 10-15 minutes of the documentary, and then because if side 3 is an hour, about the last 20, so give or take, and then all the still frame stuff is on the rest of side 4, and then the movie's on disc 1, and you do get the trailer at the end of the movie. So very cool, very cool. Like I said, not only one of my favorite movies in general, not only one of my favorite horror movies in general, but it's one of my favorite Universal Studios signature collection LaserDiscs. And like I said, this one, The Frighteners and 12 Monkeys are now the ones that everybody wants to get, I guess because they're horror titles for them. Well, 12 Monkeys is a science fiction movie, but there you go. And then, of course, I have Escape from L.A., which I've always enjoyed. When I was younger, when I was a kid, I actually liked this one more than New York because I saw it before New York. But I think I like New York. I definitely like more, but I think this one's still pretty good. And I always love that classic artwork with the orange motif there. For the DVD and the Blu-ray, they change it to blue, and I don't think it works. Also, I remember Blockbuster did a calendar, I want to say for 1997, and they used this one as one of the months because that's when it came out on VHS. I would love to get that calendar. So there you go. And this is in, of course, widescreen. I don't think there was ever a full screen counterpart, and it does have Dolby Digital AC3 because it's a Paramount title. But unfortunately, it's just the movie. Sadly, the movie did not do well, but it's a cult classic. So there you go. And then I will wrap up with these two because we are a little bit over, about an hour here. So I'll just wrap up with these two, and then we'll pick back up next time with the third row in the front here, and then we'll start working in the back. But I do have a couple Hulk Hogan movies on laser. And these are the two that I've always enjoyed really the most. So we have Suburban Commando. I was frozen today, so you got to have Suburban Commando on LaserDisc. But this is in full screen. Again, I do not know if it's open matte or not, so we'll find that out at some point, I suppose. And then I have Mr. Nanny, which is good stuff. So again, also in full screen. I'm not sure if it's open matte. I love that David Johansen from the New York Dolls plays the bad guy, and he wrote some songs for this movie. I don't want to go to school. Why do I have to go to school? Which sadly they have never been released. The only way to hear them is in the movie. So there you go. Alright, well that is part 7. We will jump back in part 8. We will, if they don't fall. There we go. We'll look at the last row in the front here, and then we'll start working in the back, and we'll see how many more parts we get here. So again, I lied. You guys know me. I lie about everything. Obviously, it's over 5 parts at this point, but I'm pretty sure you guys don't mind. So anyway, we'll check you in the next one. Later.